I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Joel Sands. I'm joined by Chloe Thomas. We're here to talk some Dark Shadows and the time that Barnabas Collins stalked and kidnapped Maggie Evans, and hey, her escape too. Uh, Jonathan Frid is Barnabas, obviously. Catherine Lee Scott is Maggie Evans. John Carlin is Willie Loomis. There's a lot of great episodes here. uh, we have the where he first really meets Maggie is obviously in the diner, and
Mm-hmm.
she's closing up, and as she's turning off all the lights, and she doesn't know he's in town. She doesn't know there's another Collins in town, which is a small town. You would figure word would get around, but no, it hasn't got back to her.
Right, right.
It's almost similar to Vicky, but not quite, because she did hear about Vicky. She doesn't hear about Barnabas because
Mhm.
Barnabas is very low key and he's a vampire. So you,
Yeah, that too.
when I was watching this, I said this is the storyline. I was reminding my wife this storyline where Barnabas kidnaps Maggie. She goes, "Oh yeah, that's right, he did do that." She goes, "He could have kidnapped me." I'm like, "What?" Um, but
I'm with your wife.
yeah, everybody seems to be with my wife on that one. I'm just like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Okay." And she's checking. Maggie Evans is checking herself out in the mirror, and there's a shadow on the wall, and it is Barnabas. It is Jonathan
Mhm.
Fred. He said, "Oh, I didn't mean to startle you. Can I get a cup of coffee?" What did you think of Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans and Jonathan Fred's Barnabas' first interaction together?
Well, you already know that he's going to think that she is his Josette replacement because of that portrait.
Yes.
Even though I have to say that portrait looks nothing like Catherine Lee Scott. But anyway, you know that's going to happen. And it's always the typical ingenue who she wants to go home, but she
Yeah.
doesn't want to be unkind. So
No.
she says, "Oh, okay, I'll give you some coffee. I want some too." And I'm like, "Oh God, how dumb are you?" But I have to say, if I
Yeah.
was closing the diner and he came in, I'd open it.
I I'm glad you brought up the portrait too about her looking nothing like Josette, because you're right. There
Mhm.
was no. I've talked about this on this channel before, where I had Bobby Lagos and Catherine Gonzalez on here, and we were talking about how, because Catherine pointed out, because she was pointing out that I pointed out there was no build up to Angelique. Well, there's no build up to Maggie being Josette, looking
Right.
like, and which is true. No one looks at the portrait of Josette and says, "Oh, that looks like Maggie Evans,"
Correct.
um, which is
Correct.
interesting. What were your thoughts on that? That they didn't sort of pre-plug that?
Well, wasn't it before Barnabas came on? Wasn't it that I read it somewhere that they had the ghost of Josette come from that portrait, and whoever they were using to film it,
Yeah,
I don't know, they weren't doing a good enough job, or I can't remember the details, but I do remember reading that Catherine Lee Scott said, "Oh well, I can just do it. I can just come from the portrait," and
yeah,
I think that's how it all started.
yeah.
Uh,
That is how it all started.
yeah.
But there's, like, from a story-driven standpoint, when they're because this is not the first character who sort of knows Josette. We sort of the Phoenix, Laura Collins,
Yeah.
and when Barnabas shows up, we don't get him. And again, it could just be they didn't have the time, which I'd like to believe that's the case.
Hmm.
Because he arrives in 211 at the end of 211, and I mean the episodes go real quick when you're watching them.
Hmm.
I I'm going to chalk this up to they just didn't have the time to slip that in there.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's true a lot of the storylines throughout the series.
yeah,
Yeah, that I wish they had done, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm gonna give the Dark Shadows Riders a pass. I'm not gonna hassle them too much on it. I do. I like to have a little fun with them, but
Mhm.
there's because it is interesting how there's times in DS like there's no real build up to this to like
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
specific thing. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, that's interesting. But
Right.
I'll say this: Jonathan, Fred, and Catherine sell their ass off.
I think the I think Jonathan is just, wonderful. But I think most of the best scenes that Catherine Lee Scott were in this storyline as opposed to anything else in the series.
I think that and the fact that you have John Carlin as Willie,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, him and Fred together in
Yeah.
these situations are is just golden
Yep.
because he, once Maggie brings the cane back, the wolf's head cane,
Yeah.
he's like, "What was she doing here?" He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, she was returning my cane." He said, "No, you left it there for a reason for her to bring it back. Why? You got plans for her. What are
Hmm.
you going to do with her?" He's not stupid. He knows
No.
Barnabas is
Yep.
cooking something,
Yep. For
and
sure.
he's like, it's time for you to do that thing again. He's like, no. He goes, go do it, go, and
And
he leaves.
he goes and gets the animals for him to drink their blood, correct? Isn't that what it is?
Well, that it's either that or he goes and gets the prostitutes.
Why would he have to go get them? I think Barnabas could had better luck with getting the prostitutes than Philip. I mean, I would think.
But yeah, you're not the only woman to bring that up to me today. Um, uh,
Come on.
but my wife, she's like, no offense. Why if Barnabas comes to the dock, I'm just like, take me, take.
Yes, exactly.
I'm like Jesus Christ, goddamn Canadians. No, but he does a great job of making because in every way, if Willie gets caught doing it, it's Willie.
Yeah,
If he's a known convict, he's a known
right.
criminal. If he gets caught doing it, it's just Willie Loomis.
Yeah, right. It's
Uh,
his right. He gets in trouble.
yeah,
Yeah.
he takes the fall, and he's expendable. And in every way, that's sort of how Barnabas, I think, at times treats Willie in these early episodes.
Yes, in the early episodes. That's
Yeah, in the early episodes,
yes.
he's very expendable, which is interesting. And I do like how when David comes in the like, oh, sorry, in the next episode, like they're going right into nightfall, and Vicky comes into the old house, and Willie hides,
Yep.
and he's like, he she comes past, she's like, oh, you scared me? What are you doing here? He's like, listen, just get out. I don't care what you think of me. Just get out of here.
Right, right.
You know. Um, but it really interesting. What did you think of Maggie's bad dreams?
Um I when I was watching those, I was wondering whether it was just a subconscious thing because she felt something on another level. She
Yeah,
sensed some sort of danger, or was he making her have those dreams? Because he has all these powers, and
yeah,
you don't know what he can do other than the obvious. But um, you know, in other episodes, he could just look at somebody and make them do whatever he wants. So I was thinking, well, maybe he's making her have these dreams as well. Because in one of the episodes, um, I think it was at the Blue Whale where when her and Joel went there, and then her father comes, and then Barnabas is there, and she doesn't want to sit at the table,
yeah,
and before they leave to go, he says to her, "Sweet dreams."
yeah,
So that makes me think that he put those dreams in her head.
yeah. I do think he's haunting her dreams in every way. I
Mhm.
think he is causing them. I mean, I've always said that I think, and I have no proof of this. I think Wes Craven was a Dark Shadows fan. because this is well before Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
You have just this horrible dream about somebody dying,
Mm-hmm.
about somebody being in a coffin and be their funeral and stuff, and it's like, holy Jesus. And it's really well done. Catherine sells her ass off,
Mm-hmm.
in the scene. And you're right, when they're at the Blue Whale, it's her and Joe. They go out the house, they come out, and it's Burke, it's Sam Evans, and Barnabas.
Yeah,
Also,
Bert comes in too. I forgot about him. Yep.
yeah, he's 20 questioning Barnabas about Willie.
Yeah.
Because he's not.
I actually like Mitch Ryan. I liked him in everything he's ever done. I've seen him. He's a good actor.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's hilarious in Liar Liar. Jim Carrey.
Oh, I gotta watch that now because I don't remember that.
He's Jim Carrey's boss in Liar Liar. He's like, the son of a bitch pulled it off. Oh my god. Oh my god. But yeah.
Too bad he left. He was very good.
Yeah. Great actor. I'm the like one of a give me here's a here's another question for you. What did you think of the dog's howling effect on Dark Shadows?
I've always wondered this. Is he making the dogs howl, or are the dogs howling because they sense his presence and they know danger is afoot? But isn't it really wolves and not the dogs?
Yeah, it's he's making them howl.
Because he could turn himself into a wolf.
Yeah, there's the comment that's made. There's always this wolf around, and it's not just him, but he can, because he can turn himself into a bat. He can disappear.
He could turn himself into a wolf.
Wolf, right? This is very this is where the gothic element is really coming in for the vampire, because the vampires have all these powers, and Dan Curtis is using every Dracula power available to Barnabas, and the writers are too.
And this was very, very Dracula.
Yeah.
I mean, the of course that's where they got it from, but they used so many things from Bram Stoker's novel, except they don't use a cross or garlic, I noticed. But
No.
they did do a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They couldn't, because of television or whatever, they couldn't use the word vampire. They didn't say that word for a long while.
Yeah, they didn't until I think the first time they said it was when Angelique was on.
Yeah, back in 1795.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like in the past. It's like we all know what he is.
Of course.
It's like, so do we? I've always said with Dark Shadows, we don't need the word really. I'm not, it's like you don't really need the word vampire to know that Barnabas is one.
Was it a banned word though? I never thought it was a word.
I don't know. That's the thing. Censorship could be really weird.
Yeah.
They just didn't want it said on TV at the time. And maybe because look, this is a show that also got their wrist smacked for going down into hell and showing the devil. Which
that was a fun trip.
Yeah, which was like just ridiculous. It's like I've always like shook my head about that. I'm like, if I'd have been Dan Curtis, I'd have been fighting.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure he did, but it's like, what happened? But no, they had not used the word vampire until 1795, and so you just say, "Oh, Barnabas is a vampire," but he's much more, because he has all this human emotion about him. Barnabas is treating Willie like a servant because he is, but there's times you sort of see that begin to change at times, especially like when you're getting into the Maggie Evans, kidnapping, because he does beat Willie.
Yeah.
Like a redheaded stepchild. He black and blues him. What did you think of that? Sorry, I'm talking too much.
Oh no, that's okay. I didn't think the beating was nearly as vicious as it was in the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, that was phew, he just pummeled him. Um, this was done. I mean, you saw him raising the cane and obviously hitting, or you didn't see him hitting him, but you knew he was hitting him,
yeah,
and the injuries did not look as bad as they did in the film. It was left more to the viewer's imagination.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they do the effect department for the show Dark Shadows was really great.
mhm.
They add some coloring to Willie's face, make it look black and blue.
Right.
And Barnabas is holding the cane. He goes, "Now don't make me loosen your tongue again and tell me the
Yeah.
truth," you know. And the way Fred stands with that cane in the show too is like, oh shit, he's gonna hit him again.
Yeah.
So you're right. You're left with that imagination that he hit him,
Hmm.
and you don't actually see it. That when the first time I think you see Barnabas actually really hit with the cane is Adam. Um, I could be wrong about that, but I know he does hit Adam. You actually
Oh,
see
I
him.
hit at him too. He got on my nerves.
Yeah, he hits Adam with the cane, and Adam's trying to strangle Willie, and it's like, well, I'd try to strangle Willie too if he dangled chicken in front of me and wouldn't. But uh,
Willie was mean to Adam. That is true.
yeah, that's
He
what
was like
happened.
jealous. He was jealous that Daddy Barnabas liked him more than Adam or something.
This is what
Crazy.
happens. That's what happens when you take somebody fresh from the insane asylum
Yeah,
who's who's not really recovered yet.
that's right.
Uh, but
That's right. That's what you get.
oh my god, John Carlo is a great actor. Great,
Yes. Yep. He
great.
was very, very good.
What did you think of John Carlin's and Jonathan Fritz chemistry together as Willie and Barnabas?
I thought that I think Jonathan Frid had of all the actors, the male actors, I think he had the best chemistry with Willie uh,
Yeah,
of everybody on there. I
yeah,
really, um, yeah. I mean, they were just so good together.
yeah. They,
Um,
yeah,
and they were friends in real life too, I believe.
yeah,
Um, but they played off each other very well, and I really enjoyed, you know, their performances together. And I liked Willie by himself too. You know,
yeah,
he was kind of funny, and, and they were amusing together too. The way he spoke to Willie sometimes, like when he switched the the slides of blood, and
yeah,
Willie said, "Oh, oh, you protected me. Oh," and he says,
yeah,
"Yeah, I may again, or I may not."
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I like both of them together. I'm glad that they switched Willie's early on before Jonathan got on there, because I don't think that guy, whoever he was, I can't remember the name. I don't think he would have been as good.
Oh,
The guy who played Willie Loomis.
James Hall, I think, is who you're thinking.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think he would have been as good.
yeah. I like he set up a lot of the things that we were going to see with Willie. I think he did a good job there.
Yeah, he
Um,
set up the stuff with Jason too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's the one who gets. He's actually the actor who gets showed Barnabas's portrait as Willie before John, because I think that's James's last episode of DS
Oh, okay.
is when David shows Willie Loomis the portrait of Barnabas for the first time. That's James Hall's last episode,
Oh, okay.
which is really interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but now, what did you think of? Because obviously, what did you think of Barnabas hiring Sam Evans to paint his portrait?
Um, I think he probably wanted a modern portrait of himself, but I think he was using Sam to get to his daughter.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I also think he wanted a modern portrait for the old house.
yeah,
Um, but he could also monitor where Sam was at night. and
Mhm.
flip out and get to Maggie.
Yeah. That's the thing too. He he's following Maggie Evans to the cottage,
Uh-huh.
and she's looking because she doesn't know it's him following her, but
Right.
she knows somebody is. And
Right.
she gets inside the house, and there's a knock, and she's like, "Who is it?" "Oh, it's Barnabas Collins." And she
Hmm.
slightly opens the door. He's like, "Miss Evans, look like you're gonna slam the door at any moment." It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and she lets him in. Uh, and he makes when Sam comes, he goes, "Well, I'll make you." He says about $1,000.
Right. The
Someone offers to
portrait.
commission his portrait, and Sam accepts. And I'm thinking, yeah, not only is he going to take your money, he's going to take your daughter, buddy.
Yeah.
Um, and, well, it's like, yeah, it's like I will give you money, and I will take your daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah,
dollar.
yeah. It's like, why not, right?
Right.
Um, it's it's so well done. The writers do a really great job of setting up this story for the kidnapping. I
Hmm.
love the setup as much as I love the kidnapping because they do a really great because it isn't the only story going on at the time, obviously.
Well, it's
You
the best story going on.
right, as well as
I don't
as well as
know
I
about
do,
Jason and
right. But
is
you know as well as I do, Dark Shadows it always had a multitude of stories going on.
oh sure, because it was a soap opera.
Yeah, and I really love how they balance it in this one
Hmm.
because they balance it perfectly. You get Barnabas, Willie. Barnabas is plotting the kidnapping of Maggie.
Hmm.
It's going to be successful, as we all
Of
know.
course.
Because Barnabas's plans cannot go wrong. Um, they will eventually.
Yeah, of course.
And then you got Jason and Willie going around. And I do love how they incorporate Willie to go back to the old house, or sorry, Jason to go back
Jason.
to the old house to talk to Willie,
Yep.
which is really good. What did you think of that?
Um, you got a ghost there? What's going on?
No, it's my daughter, Holly.
Sophie, it's fine.
What,
Sorry, I asked her to do
it's okay. What did you think of? What did you think of Jason going to the old house to confront Willie or talk to him?
Um, I think that was a good lead up because eventually Jason's going to feel probably more comfortable going there, and then when he does end up going there and finds the coffin and then meets his death, I think that was build up for that, for him going to talk to Willie, because Jason is very sleazy, and I think he still wants to know where those jewels are, because in a later episode he will see them through the window playing with the box of jewels.
Yeah, yeah. Jason, when he finally gets evicted out of Collinwood, is going to see the jewels. But he's not. It's not that he's wary of Barnabas. He's very wary of Willie because he knows what kind of person Willie was, and Willie's
But
a
he knows there's something up with Willie because he's changed so much.
yeah, yeah. He detects that. He tells Willie like, "You didn't want to work. You told me you never wanted to work again."
Uh-huh.
Which gets said in the episode, which I really like. But he's come to the real. I don't think Jason fully realizes how much Willie has changed. He himself is so greedy
Hmm.
that he doesn't. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to see that change in Willie. Jason has become so greedy because he's taken every advantage of Liz.
Hmm.
And you see Willie, who's just like, look, I'm trying to work.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to, work, to whatever, but he doesn't realize Barnabas is a vampire,
Right.
which is, again, interesting. But so, yeah, you get that. And then after the kidnapping takes place, Maggie is literally taken from her room, her
Yeah,
bedroom.
and you think that she is, oh no, wait, that's in the hospital when she sits upright and you think she's dead and then she disappears. Okay, yeah, right. She's
Yeah,
from her room, right.
yeah. She's taken from her bedroom at the Evans cottage, and
Hmm.
everybody's at the bar.
Aren't they always?
Well, Joe was at the house, but he got told to get out by
Yeah, yeah,
Maggie.
because she heard the wolves and she got her little message
Yeah,
telepath. Yeah, to
Yeah,
get rid
yeah.
of.
I'll get you better.
I do like that we get the doctor saying, "Well, you forgot to mention she lost all this blood."
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's no blood anywhere where her father says. Well, she
Yeah,
lost so much blood.
yeah, and like not too terribly long ago, there was the episode where it was Maggie, it was Burke, and it was Joe at the bar, and Joe was late for the blue whale, and he says it's not pleasant news what I have, and he said, well, somebody took a baby calf and drained all of its blood.
Ugh.
You know, what did
Yeah.
you? I mean, it's that little sort of goat story that sort of okay. There's definitely a vampire on the show. If you
That's
had
freaky. That's
yeah,
freaky.
that's freaky.
I mean, I can't imagine a vampire going after an animal. I've never seen that in
Yeah,
all the spooky movies, but I
yeah.
guess, you know, if you're desperate for blood, you do what you got to do.
My buddy John Philip Betancourt has always joked, listen, if you have calves go missing, just assume Barnabas is around. Which I agree. It's like, hey, if your calf goes missing, ends up drained of blood, yeah, Barnabas has showed
Yeah.
up. But yeah, so yeah. what did what did you think? Because we do get to see Maggie Evans in the Josette dress.
Yeah.
What
And
did you?
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how do you think she looked?
Oh, I thought they did her beautifully. I mean, the dress
Yeah,
and everything. It was beautiful. That room is beautiful. And even though it was all shot in black and white,
yeah,
I think that made it even more eerie and spooky and gothic. I just thought it was wonderful. And I love the scenes where she actually is sort of brainwashed and
yeah,
she thinks that she is Josette, but then you see her slowly come out of it, and then she tries to deceive him.
yeah,
And they're in the living area, the living room, and as she walks away from him, he calls her Maggie, and she stops, but she catches herself and says, "Well, isn't that a servant's name? It's such a common name." And I thought,
yeah.
"You go, girl." Yeah,
Yeah.
I, I liked that. That was really good.
I really like how when they finally reveal Josette's room and where the portrait of Josette went.
Yeah.
I think that was so well done from a storytelling standpoint. And when we finally do get to see, because Maggie is kidnapped, initially Willie does stop her from being kidnapped for the first. When he says, "Oh, she's at Eagle Hill," he makes this phone call to Collinwood.
Yeah. Is
And
that's when Vicky answers the phone, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
this is gonna be like, because he gets the beating of a lifetime for this.
Yep.
That's where we were talking about the black and blue marks. But after that, you know, that Barnabas's next attempt is going to be successful.
Right. Because
Uh,
Willie knows he'll get killed.
yeah, yeah. Well, he's not going to take a second chance,
Mm-hmm.
and she is kidnapped and taken to the old house and to be held. And he does have her wearing Josette's dress. He does have David thinks he sees Josette's ghost, and
Mm-hmm.
really he's seen Maggie,
Mm-hmm.
which is a fact I really love. I love how they play that within the story. What did you think?
Oh, I love that. Of course, that kid is so damn nosy. He's such a little brat, but he's such a good actor for
Yeah,
such a young child. And I
yeah,
don't think that kid ever, well, no, he does miss some of his lines, but he's a kid, but he's so good.
yeah,
And I like when he's lying, he just does it so well, but you can see the fear he has of Barnabas and the
yeah,
way Barnabas, talks to him.
yeah.
um, I just think it's really good.
Yeah, he does such a great job of being nosy and hanging
Mm-hmm.
around the old house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love what you were talking about. How Maggie Evans does try to deceive Barnabas. My favorite moment of this kidnapping is the moment where she has the music box and she's in front of the mirror and she Josette, and she slams it shut on Maggie Evans, and
Mm-hmm.
really well done. And Barnabas's punishment for her is putting her in the basement.
Doesn't
Um,
he take her to the? He does, but doesn't he also take her to the mausoleum? And he
he
says, "I'm not going to leave you here. Your beauty saves you, or something." And then he takes her back.
he takes her to the coffin and puts
Yeah,
her in it, and it's so creepy. It's like holy shit. He has every intention of turning her into
yeah,
a
yeah.
vampire
He's a
because
good psycho at this time.
yeah, I mean Willie. I like when Mrs. building the coffin when she just sees him like, oh, I'm Josette, and she's got him deceived, and he's like, I think it's time for you to go, start your work, and John Carlin's Willie Loomis is working on a coffin. He's like, can't you appreciate? He's like, yeah, whatever. Um, he's like, I could make you appreciate. He goes, no, no, that's okay. John Carlin, like whether he is mean to it's just being funny. Like it's funny.
Mm-hmm,
It,
mm-hmm.
and you have I love how Kathleen Lee Scott is leaning against the fake wall, and you can sort of see it move a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Because it's a set.
correct.
Um, but she's hiding, and Willie's the one who catches her. He's like, "What are you doing down here?" And she's like, "How dare you speak to me? You're just a servant." She's trying to act like Josette,
Right.
and she says, he says, "Do you like this?" He goes, "Oh, I love it." He goes, "Nice try, Maggie. I know.
Uh
She,
huh.
she can't fool him." She's like, "You got to help me. You got to help me." And Barnabas is laying in his coffin, and he's like, I can't. He's even more powerful in the coffin than when he is out of it. It's just somehow, and she tries to stake him. This is where Barnabas stops her and sits up with the fangs showing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What did you think of that?
Oh, I thought that was. I think that scared the crap out of her because I don't think she knew exactly what he was up until that time. She just knew that she only saw him in the evening. I don't think she knew what he actually was, maybe, even though he had bitten her. Um that's just the impression I got. I don't think she realized what his full intentions were for her, because all he was telling her was that he was going to marry her and they were going to live together forever, blah.
Yeah,
But I think that really put everything into perspective for her. And I think that contributed to her going somewhat mad, because when he puts her in the cellar and she's out of all the clothes and she's got like that black thing on that she escapes in, it's like she's she's a little prisoner in there, and she's singing London Bridge to herself and
yeah,
telling him about her imaginary friend.
yeah,
And that whole scene there was
yeah,
actually my favorite of the whole thing, because he realizes that she has gone somewhat mad, and um, she's not faking it. She, I mean, she's telling the truth about her little friend, Sarah,
yeah.
but he realizes that this is never going to work. And he almost looks kind of sad that this happened and disappointed, because when he comes back out, you can see he has tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
But I don't know who he feels more sorry for, himself or for her.
I I think this is sort of the start of really the start of the moment of Barnabas sort of realizing he did a really wrong thing, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
That too.
and I think what also helps it because he doesn't see the ghost of Sarah
No,
is
not yet.
no, which is the conversation he has, Willie and him have, as he says, "I'm going to kill her," and Willie is like trying to tell him, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. And Willie's here's the thing. he's standing there listening to Willie.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like just a couple episodes, you were beating this guy like there was no tomorrow. Oh,
Right.
and now
Now
you're,
the voice of reason.
yeah, now he's the voice of reason. So, I mean, you've always known this character had a conscience to a degree, but now you're really seeing, okay, there's another side to this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, what did you think of the ghost of Sarah?
Oh, I thought she was a cute little girl, and I think that I think it was a brilliant intervention on the part of the writers to bring her because she is Barnabas's conscience, even though we don't know that yet.
Yeah,
But
I
and
always,
he is trying to protect who her brother is trying to hurt.
yeah, I always refer to this as the ghost of Josette made a tag to the ghost of Sarah Collins. And she came in and cleaned house. I mean, the introduction of her is so good. You have, a ball being tossed around. You have this girl, singing London Bridge, and
She
she
plays with David.
plays with David. Right? There's so much interaction here, and Willie catches her on the grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Too, that's one of my favorite scenes is Willie talking to her because when you get to the costume party much later, he says, "Hey, this was that dress that little girl was wearing. I told you about."
Mm-hmm.
And Barnabas is putting it together, but he's in denial at that point. But
Yeah.
that's another topic for another time. Um, he, you're right. He does think he realizes she's lost her mind.
Yep.
Because he doesn't realize Sarah's interacting with all these people, and he's so hyper focused on the whole Josette situation, but now he's feeling the sounds of sort of remorse of, oh man, I really messed her up.
Mm-hmm.
But Sarah shows her the way out to freedom.
Yep.
Gets her.
Didn't you love? Oh, you know what I loved, and I didn't remember seeing this before, but as Maggie is making her way out through this labyrinth of whatever, through the bricks, and he's following her. Did you notice how he had to duck down every time? He must have been very tall because through everything he had to duck down. But how he was following her through the maze and then she got out on the beach. I just thought that was good.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you this. Do you think Barnabas let Maggie escape?
Well, he was on the beach
Yeah.
and he kept telling her to come with him, but then he heard Sam yelling, and so he hid behind, what was that, a rock, I think?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe he thought it might be better because then he shows up at the hospital to see what happened, and he's told that she's dead, and he's relieved.
Yeah. I don't think he was going to kill her. I think he thought too much of Josette to do it. And B, I mean, he knew what he was. He knows he's a vampire, someone who can disappear and reappear in front of somebody. He doesn't have to chase her through the corridors. And he doesn't kill her. I do think this is another big moment by the writers having him not kill her. Decision wise, and faking Maggie's death is pure genius, just pure gold. Because again, they're trying to figure out who did kidnap Maggie. You know what? In order to protect her, we got to fake her death.
Correct.
3 people know, and I love Sam and Joe, but they're so impatient with this.
Yeah, they are. And this is the Dr. Woodard I like.
Yes.
This is the one I like. The other ones, the one they killed, that's fine with me because he was a nerd. I didn't like him. But did you know there was a couple of things throughout this storyline? The first thing was when Burke was in Dr. Woodard's office and they're talking about the blood cells and the corpuscles. And he's saying, but there's something else there. And this guy, Hoffman, because, Hoffman was supposed to be a man.
Yeah.
And they kept referring to her as he, because she even hasn't been on yet. She's coming up. And the other thing, oh, what happened? What, I just lost it. What was the other thing that I was going to say? Oh, the whole Josette story thing is, he has her. He's telling people she came from Paris to marry his older uncle, and he taught her English. Well, of course, when we go back into the vampire curse storyline, that's not what happened at all. It
Yeah.
was, yeah. And I guess it's just that suspension of disbelief that we just go along with it.
Yeah, I think the Collins family do a really good job of telling the lies that they are told to repeat throughout history.
Yeah.
But amongst the lies, you sort of have to sift out the truth,
Yeah.
um, which is always fun for NDS. um,
Yeah. Yep.
that's the fun part about being a Dark Shadows fan. It's like, yeah, you got to sift out the bullshit.
Uh-huh. Sure. Sure.
But yeah, I think it was Dr. Julius Hoffman.
Julia. Oh, I never heard the name. They just said Hoffman.
I
Or
think
just said,
initially it was supposed to be Dr. Julius Hoffman.
yeah.
But
I wonder how it would have been if Hoffman had been a man rather than a woman.
but Dark Shadows made the greatest sex change.
Yeah, there you go. There
Dr.
you go.
Dr. Julia Hoffman casting Grayson Hall.
Yeah.
They really did. I think they made a wise choice. Because there were, at the time, when you think about it, there was only Carolyn, Maggie,
Dickie.
Victoria, and Elizabeth. And there was Jason, Joe Haskell, John Carlin.
Now, don't forget Miss Johnson.
Well, yeah, but she was either there or not there. You know, she got mentioned, but
Yeah.
from like a mainstay of who you saw most,
Yeah.
you had from, and even David. You had David. David. There were more. It seemed like there were more guys than there were girls, and I think they just made a really wise choice. Even the sheriff. Look, the sheriff was a man, so casting a woman as Dr. Hoffman was a wise choice. You sort of needed that to get the sympathy across for someone to fall in love with Barnabas, which is Dr. Julia Hoffman. She fell. I mean, it's Jonathan Frid. She fell in love with Barnabas. I mean, why not, right?
Well, that's what I say. Who could not resist?
Yes. What did you make of Barnabas and Dr. Julia Hoffman's first interactions together? Because she deceives everybody.
Yeah, she's a researcher.
Yeah, she says she's a researcher. Yep.
We talked about this before because when she first came on, I liked her.
Yeah.
It wasn't until she lost her edge and she became putty in his hands, and he never respected her. I mean, especially in the beginning. And I just thought, to me, you're useless. And I pretty much felt the whole way about that character throughout the whole series, except when she was Magda or when she played Hoffman in the parallel time.
Yeah.
Just the idea that she thought that Barnabas would ever fall in love with her was ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
She was not his type. I don't think she had any sex appeal. I know people are going to crucify me when they hear this because there are people out there who just think that they belong together, and they just so don't. I just can't imagine it. It's like watching a brother and a sister kiss. I guess it's gross.
So,
but go on. What did you say?
I was gonna say with Dr. Julia Hoffman that you're right. She's very much She's very much Carl Kolchak.
In the beginning, yes.
Yeah,
yes. She's very, very good.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah, I do think, though, you find out there's an ulterior motive to her. That it's about getting that sort of Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Peace Prize.
Very ambitious.
Yeah, ambition.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
No.
plus, you're trying to help this man.
Yeah, you're trying to help a murderous vampire. It's okay. You can do it.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, why not? Vampires need love too, but but
yeah.
it no, I don't blame her at all for any of that. But then when she, like I said, when she loses her edge and she becomes kind of like, well, like when she gives him to when she unintentionally makes him old, because in the film she intentionally makes him old, but in the series when she does it, she said, well, you never know, there could be some woman that would love you like the way you are. And he calls her on it right away. Don't get any of your ridiculous ideas.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. He
Yeah, I mean he's much nicer to her later on in the series, but by
he
that time, for me
he's
personally,
so
she
he's
just
so distrusting of her too.
well,
Uh,
when you be in the beginning, I mean, you're a vampire. Who can you trust?
well, he's Willie when Willie prepares the room. He's like, listen. He goes, I'm planning to kill her. He's like, wait, what?
I know. Yeah.
like wait, Willie looks at him like, hey, you just told me to get a room ready for this woman.
Right. Right. Right.
Poor Willie.
Exactly.
Poor
Exactly.
Willie. Oh,
Yep.
I have no more questions for you. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Oh no, no, no. Just everybody keep coming on Facebook. I'm making a whole bunch of new art.
I I saw that. Yeah, you do a great job, though. You do.
Thank you. Thank you. I love
Uh,
doing.
uh, let's see. Let me look here because I want to see what I have coming up here. Let's see. How's the 20? Or sorry. Shoot. Let's see. How's the 28th?
28th. What day is that on?
Friday.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay.
What are we talking about? What's
I
my home?
want. I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna put you through torture here. I want to talk the 2012 Dark Shadows movie.
You want to talk about the Johnny Depp movie?
Yes, it's
Okay,
it's time to talk the Johnny Depp movie.
that's fine.
The pros and the cons.
Yeah, there's a lot of cons, but there are some pros.
There are. There
There
are.
are for sure.
Yeah. She's Chloe Thomas. You can find her on Facebook and through many Dark Shadows groups. Go check her artwork out. She does a really good job with songs too. Again, thank you for giving me your time so much.
Oh, thank you.
You have a good night, Chloe.
You too. Bye bye.